Hey, how are you? Oh, hello, I deal with family issues. And how are you? I'm fine. What's the problem? At the start of the month, Rosie's behavior began to seem strange to me. I'm usually pretty good at picking up on things, and when she came back home after going out with her friends, she seemed a bit tipsy. So, what happened? It was around midnight, and honestly, Rosie isn't one to go out too often. Even when she does, she's always careful not to drink too much since she has to drive back home. But this time was different. When I asked her about where she had been and what she did, which she usually tells me without hesitation, she just looked at me blankly and answered in short sentences. That's when I realized that something was definitely up. That sounds like a red flag to me. Did you try talking to her about it? I began to ask Rosie about her plans every day and how her day went, but she started getting annoyed and accusing me of prying too much. It was weird because she used to answer all my questions without any issue. This made me suspicious, and I knew there was something going on. Yeah, I can see why that would be concerning. Did you try to address it with her? I did, but things got worse when Rosie started being snappy with both me and the kids. My son is 11 and my daughter is 6, and she would come back home and just start complaining. It seemed like she was going through some kind of withdrawal every time she was around us. That must have been really difficult for you and the kids. It was, but I made a hard decision. I decided to get a tracking GPS. Wow, were you going to follow up your wife? I struggled with this situation because I really trusted Rosie. I just thought it was a passing phase, as she had never given me any indication that we had marital problems. Of course, we argued from time to time, but we always found a way to work things out. However, I started to track her movements, not because I didn't trust her, but mainly to ease my mind and make sure she wasn't lying to me. And what did you find out? The problem was that what Rosie told me about her whereabouts never matched up with the GPS tracking. This made me extremely suspicious of her actions. That's really concerning. What happened next? I went further and checked her phone records and even started making notes of when there were 1 or 2 hour gaps in her day. Rosie is a registered nurse who recently got a job as a professional liaison for a hospice, which is basically a marketing position. They even gave her a laptop and an extra phone, which probably made it all the more tempting for her to stray. Have you talked to her about your suspicions? Not yet. I'm still gathering evidence. But I'm scared of what I might find out. Keep me informed. How is your family turmoil? Have you solved all the problems with your wife? Well, not quite. After tracking her for a couple of weeks, we decided to go on a vacation to St. Martin, just the two of us, without the kids. We felt like we needed to reconnect because we hadn't been alone together without the kids for almost 9 years. That sounds like a great idea. How did you spend your time there? The vacation was amazing, but it felt like I was there alone, even though Rosie was with me. I even told her how I felt, but she just brushed it off and told me to stop being ridiculous. That was strange, because she would never talk to me like that. The weird thing is, we were very affectionate during the entire trip, like we were teenagers again. It was wonderful. But then we came back home on Sunday, and Monday arrived. What happened on Monday when I went to work on Monday? I started tracking Rosie's movements again. At around 3 p.m., I noticed that she parked at the same spot near a mall that she had parked a few times before. She stayed there until around 6 p.m., and then came back home, quickly heading to bed. When I tried to initiate closeness, she just turned over and said she was too tired. Oh, maybe she just didn't want to. Listen, the next day I was taking my son to lacrosse practice at around 6 p.m., and I texted Rosie to ask what she was doing. She said she was taking our daughter to dance at around the same time. But when I checked the GPS, I saw that she went to a particular house instead. I felt my stomach drop. That must have been a terrible feeling. What did you do? This is it, I thought. As soon as I saw the GPS, I knew I had to take action. I quickly found someone to watch my son and drove straight to the location. My mind was racing the entire time, and I had no idea what to expect. When I arrived at the house, I saw Rosie's car parked next to another car. I parked down the block and quietly approached the front of the house. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. The smell of fried. Yeah, I peeked inside the windows, but everything seemed quiet. I was hoping it was just a friend's house or something innocent. I went around to the back door and slowly turned the handle. To my surprise, the door opened. What did you see inside? I walked down the hallway, and I could hear music coming from a closed door. I braced myself and barged in, but the door quickly shut in my face. It seemed like the guy was standing behind it, and they must have heard me coming. So I kicked the door in, and it broke off the hinges and fell onto the guy. Jesus! And just like that, my world came crashing down. They were both standing there without clothes by the bed, and I immediately put the man in a headlock. I started pushing him hard while Rosie was in the background screaming for me to stop. What did you say to your wife when you saw her there? I turned to Rosie and asked her how she could do this to me. I also told her that I knew it all along. The man started biting my fingers, and I had to let him go. I knew that when he ran down the hallway, he was most likely going to grab a weapon. The story is like a movie. You're right. I quickly got up and ran out of the house. I got into my car, and the man came out of the house completely without clothes, with a weapon pointed at me. It was surreal, and I was shaking uncontrollably. In a state of panic, I drove off towards home as fast as I could. I can't imagine what you must have been feeling. It was terrifying. Later that night, Rosie came home and cried, apologizing to me. She seemed to have so much regret in the first couple of days, but then something changed. She started becoming angry and unapologetic. I was left wondering, how could she do this to me? What have I done wrong? It sounds like she was struggling with a lot of emotions. After we talked, Rosie accused me of mentally manipulating her and being really mean. I'll admit that I'm not a perfect husband or man. I work in construction, and yeah, I curse sometimes. But the accusations that I threatened to destroy and slap her in the face were too much. Sure, I said some mean things once in a while, but never with the intention of hurting her. I understand. She let it build up inside, to the point where she distanced herself from me, and talking to me became too much for her. She never sincerely approached me to let me know that something was wrong. I always tried to stop the arguments, and I would ask her why she was acting like a witch. I felt like I was doing everything in my power to make things right when we argued, but she was unreceptive. It sounds like there were communication issues and misunderstandings. After the incident, we went to counseling twice because I really want to make this work for us, for our kids. Rosie comes from a broken family where her mother cheated on her father and still lives with the person she cheated with. On the other hand, I come from a family that is still happily married, old-fashioned and loving. My family believes in working through things and never giving up. I understand. Well, maybe she was just wrong. All people make mistakes. I believe that you and your wife will make peace. One mistake is not worth a divorce. It's been a nightmare. What's happened? Honestly, I think Rosie is still seeing this guy or whoever it is. Even though she says she has no plans to be with him because he's married, I read all the emails, and it seems like they had plans. I can't believe this is happening. She's living in a fantasy world right now and is willing to throw everything away with just a signature. We've lost our communication, and resentment has set in. She's too clouded by anger to even talk to me, and it's difficult to live together and have her pretend like I'm not even there. It sounds like you're really hurting right now. I can't keep being treated like this. So I decided to take revenge on Rosie, I took all of her stuff and threw it on the front lawn, along with a sign saying that she had an affair. I even called her job because they had given her a company phone and laptop, which she had been using to carry out this affair instead of her personal devices. I knew this because I had been tracking her movements. She didn't get fired, but I told her she would if I called again. I said some really hurtful things to her, like I hope she passes away from a terminal illness and that I wouldn't go to her funeral. I even texted everyone we knew and told them about the affair. It's understandable that you're hurt, but revenge won't solve anything. Maybe, but I chose to do so. But wait, the most interesting was 3 days ago. On that day, we were talking, and I told her that I was over everything and just wanted me to be happy. We hugged it out, but then I said something about looking for someone else because I was feeling lonely. That's when she started flipping out and slapped me hard across the face. Then she grabbed a butcher knife and pointed it at my chest. I was scared out of my mind, so I called the state police. I could have had her arrested and put in jail for that, but I didn't want to do that to my family. Oh my God, she's crazy. Yeah, I'm really worried about what's going to happen next. I feel like I've done everything I can to prepare, but I'm still afraid for my children and myself. I just want to make sure that we're all safe and that we can move forward from this. Yeah, I can only imagine. That must have been really scary. It was. When I looked into her eyes, I could see just how far gone she was. It was like she was a completely different person. She's become so wild and immature, it's hard to even recognize her anymore. It's like I'm dealing with a stranger. She's really gone off the deep end. Exactly, I finally handed her the divorce papers yesterday, and she just started crying and begging me not to go through with it. She said that she wanted us to handle things civilly. Can you even believe that? After everything that's happened, she's still trying to act like everything can be worked out peacefully. Well, you're both right and wrong to some extent. I'm not going to let her off easy. She's got this idea in her head that we can just go to mediation and everything will work out fine, but that's just not how it works. I've hired a top-notch lawyer, and she's not getting a single penny from me. The only thing that matters right now are the kids. I just want to make sure that they're taken care of and that they have everything they need to move forward from this. Oh, I totally understand, man. You got to protect yourself and your kids. It's good that you're standing up for yourself and not letting her walk all over you. I'm scheduled to attend the PFA hearing tomorrow to make sure my kids are safe. Do you think it's a good idea for me to still go? Well, if you feel like going to the hearing will keep your children out of harm's way, then go for it. Just be sure to gather all the necessary proof to support your position. Yes, I know. Thanks, River. So, are you worried about custody? Yeah, I am. So, my ex has been saying she wants what's best for our kids, and even mentioned filing for custody, but just in case I need to slap her to the punch, I've hired a private investigator to look into her background. That's a smart move. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Thanks, River. I'll keep you updated. Hey, River. It's been a while since we talked about what's been going on. I just wanted to update you on the situation. Of course, Carson, I'm here to listen. How are things going? Actually, things are going pretty well. Rosie was just hit with a 3-month PFA, and I will most likely get custody of the children, as I have collected enough evidence of her bad attitude towards children. I've been feeling more empowered lately, and making them my top priority. That's great to hear, Carson. Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride, but I'm doing my best. I'm moving into a new townhouse pretty soon, and I couldn't be more pumped about it. It feels like a fresh start and a new chapter in my life. I'm happy to hear that things are looking up for you.